racist practices in the Scandinavian fashion industry that I've been doing these past seasons. It is such a pleasure to have you here, and it's an even bigger pleasure to have you, Ceval Omar, here with me,
Thank you for having me.
and thank you for coming. Um, you are such an inspiration to so many people. Were you aware of the fact that you just simply being you would inspire so many people?
And I find it still quite hard, seeing as the only thing I'm doing right is being right to my own being, and that kind of resonates with people, and still makes me feel obviously very and good, but also nervous, because and I never want to do anything that would and kind of offended that feeling that people are resonating with. If that makes sense.
It does make sense. Are you ever worried that you're going to step away from your own moral compass, your ethics, when working in the fashion industry?
And not so much as that, more as in I'm having like young and girls and young trans women and black women of all different ages and all these things, and talk to me about what how I make them feel and that I make them feel good, and I find that very frightening.
What's so frightening about
But
it?
because I'm only me, and I grew up in a world where being me was not first and foremost wanted, and I still find my ways in this society struggling. But yeah.
I mean, one of the things that I find so important about conversations like this is the representational aspect of showing different faces, different bodies, all bodies preferably, within the context of fashion, art, design, and etc. We are at a time right now where folks are dying because of racism and because of transphobia, amongst other horrible reasons. Do you think representation makes a difference?
Absolutely. Seeing as when I was growing up in Norway, Oslo, me being young and not knowing what trans was, what my identity was, what it meant, just knew that I had this feeling, and was constantly told this feeling that you're having and what you're presenting is not correct to this society, and not having any like and people to see and to feel like they reflected how I felt or put a name to it, language, anything, and being in loss of that, and now filling that space, and having other people now grow up knowing that there is language for this and there's people that are there visible and out, makes them feel so much more less alone in this world, and also feel like there's space for all of us, basically.
I mean, if it wasn't already, 2020 made it absolutely impossible to ignore online activism. For many of us, that was already it was already there, and it's been there for years. But this year, no one could say it didn't exist. Speaking of role models, speaking of representation, what has your journey been on social media platforms with regards to representation, with regards to digital activism?
And for me, I find it so mind-boggling that, and speaking and first, and it's coming first from my own lived experience and my truth, but also it's coming from logic sense, and how so many people are a loss of logic is terrifying. And so I don't find it as I find it almost truth telling, if that makes sense. And I mean, true that their truth can be true to them, but if your truth is harming people and neglecting their rights to exist, or preventing that fact, and I find it very harmful.
How do you use social media platforms and the digital world to promote activism?
And I speak from my heart, and I wish, and I kind of had this inner conversation with myself when I was younger, and I would always pinpoint certain people that I met and what kind of energy they gave me, and I would very much hold on to whether it was negative or positive, and I kind of went within myself, and I asked myself, what is it that I want to put out into this world? If there's this many negative energy coming in, and this, let's say, little positivity going out, where do I want to find myself in that world? And I was like, I want to put in the positive energy that I can and drag on from the depths of my soul, and put it out there, rather than fueling the ugliness of the world, if that makes sense.
It does, absolutely. But it also sounds like a very draining and very energy depleting task, which I think is something we do need to talk about in these times. How do activists, how do folks like yourself who are the forefront of change in Scandinavia within the fashion industry, how do you recharge your batteries? Where are your safe spaces? Where do you get the energy to keep going?
And honestly, I find it within my sisters, my community, and like-minded people, and people that also fuel me with their positive energy. And I also take 4 days off sometimes and just Netflix.
Good for you.
And
Good
order
for you.
food and don't see the daylight.
No, because I think it's a huge part of these discussions is to also realize that it taxes the body, it costs energy.
Physically, mentally.
Absolutely.
Because what you're essentially doing is you're basically out there and trying to get other people to acknowledge your existence. And that concept in itself is so flawed, because I'm already here and I'm telling you that I'm here, you know? So, yeah.
What do you think are some of the main obstacles that BIPOC and LGBTQIA plus folks face specifically within the Scandinavian fashion industry?
And I think it's becoming very good. What could, and always, I feel like everything is always in motion, because now that the doors are open, we're not stopping, of course. So everything, I feel like, is always going to go forward from now on. And I feel like the more people are genuine about their wishes of collaborating with that community, I feel like it will always be from a place of goodness and positivity, and it will affect the world in that way.
From the other, if we look at it from the other angle, what do you think are some of the main difficult or missed opportunities that the Scandinavian fashion industry faces when wanting to become more diverse?
I think have fun and be genuine, have fun, and create spaces where everyone, including themselves, are enjoying the process. I feel like that makes it so much more worth it if everyone in that is involved in it is enjoying what they're creating, and continuing to make spaces that there's enjoyment of. And from that, I feel like you also gain learning and experiences and tools. You meet each other in another frequency, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. So basically, if you were the boss of the industry right now, first of all, have fun. What are some of the other things that you would change immediately in order to make this industry, Scandinavian fashion industry, a more inclusive space?
And I would invite people, and I would invite conversations that are very, very uncomfortable to begin with, because I feel like let's get the ugly, like the ugly feeling and the uncomfortability first out of the way.
So, what are the uncomfortable conversations?
I mean, our conversation right now must be uncomfortable to some people. So I feel like also getting people that you might be scared of. I feel like we know those people. And I feel like the more people are invited in, because it's such a huge wall, and it's literally the best. This is the best example. This glass, people can see in and we can see out, but we can't engage with each other. You know, so break the glass and invite people in.
Absolutely. You know, kind of going back to what we can do on the digital platforms, what we can do to create a more inclusive setting and to promote the activism that is happening. What do you think anyone and everyone should and could do right now to elevate voices that are not being heard?
And I feel like kind of lost for word.
That's all right. It's a big
But,
question. I mean, it's a question I ask myself daily. And one of the things that has been helpful for me is to create a platform, which we just created. And I want to thank you for your support in doing it.
Thank you for including
Of
me.
course. It's the Nordic Fashion Directory, and it's basically a platform that includes the BIPOC fashion professionals within this Scandinavian
What would
industry.
be cool is literally go into your mood boards, pick out 15 or 10 and put them on the shows and the covers, just off the gate. And that already would make a huge, huge shift in the industry, just that.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think
Because everyone would see, and by seeing you, it becomes true, and by it being true, everyone can resonate with it, and then it's a reality, and then it's a thing, and then when it's a thing, it's natural.
Why do you think that it's so easy to be inspired by marginalized voices? It's so easy to be inspired, but it's so hard to actually invite those voices into your boardroom and onto your catwalk.
And fear of money.
The loss of it or making it? Maybe a bit of both. Maybe a bit of both.
No, but
it's
the
a paradox.
fear
but-
of the unknown, and which is, I mean, kind of late in the game for that. And but I feel like it's fear, ignorance. I don't think it's always intolerance, and I don't think it's always racism. But I think it always stems from fear, and fear is such a. I feel like, and fear is a motivating factor. Fear is something that, oh, I'm afraid of this. As you confront it, you're also immediately reaching new levels of your inner sense. Like it's not a blockage. It's a door inviting you into a new space within yourself and within what you think you're capable of. So I think people should be fearless in their view and decision making regarding that.
What scares you, and how do you find your bravery and courage?
And what scares me is that I won't be enough, and in the sense of like, I won't be able to tackle this big giant thing that I'm trying to, and what motivates me is me wanting a better life for myself and a better life for everyone that I can think of, because I'm equally, and everyone is equally of having every opportunity and every chance and every joy in life. Everyone's equal and deserving of that.
Absolutely.
So if I'm not gonna be given it because of my circumstances, I will have to go and claim it.
And I'm going to tell you two things. First of all, you are enough and you are everything. Second of all, you do not have to do this alone. We are here to help. And we are here to create a community that is needed and that has been needed for a very long time.
Yes.
And that's what I hope. This is a conversation. It's a couple minutes, but it's the beginning of thoughts. And thoughts make ideas, and ideas make art. And art can change the world. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be in design. We wouldn't be in fashion, because we're communicating. And I want to thank you.
Thank you so
for
much.
communicating with me. And I want
For
to thank the
including me.
audience
Thank
for
you.
communicating with us by being here and listening with your whole bodies. And have a wonderful, fabulous fashion week.
Thank you. I'll try.
Slay on the catwalk like you do. And thank you all.
Thank you.
Enjoy.